experiments both for the purposes of determining the effects of radiation on various parts of my body and to terrorize me as an additional trauma in the mind control experiments. The rest of the experiments took place in Tucson, Arizona, out in the desert. I was taught how to pick locks, be secretive, use my photographic memory, and a technique to withhold information by repeating numbers to myself. Dr. Green moved on to wanting me to kill dolls that look like real children. I stabbed a doll with a spear once after being severely traumatized, but the next time I refused. He used many pain induction techniques, but as I got older, I resisted more and more. And Dr. Green ruthlessly used electric shock, drugs, spun me on a table, put shots in my stomach, in my back, dislocated my joints, and hypnotic techniques to make me feel crazy and suicidal.
I am a victim of electromagnetic microwave frequency harassment. I am being physically tortured every day.
Covert, silent radio frequency electronic attacks being carried out in public against people in their homes across the USA.
The electromagnetic harassment started at the end of 1996 and beginning of 1997.
It felt like they were just like messing up my body, and it just felt like I was getting physically tortured, and I couldn't stop them.
I've been targeted with electromagnetic energy on at least 2 occasions where I measured the power at over 100% of the FCC allowed limit for RF exposure using a NARDA 8718 radiation hazard meter.
The trajectories we've tracked, it's been coming from the neighbors. First, you're skeptical, but we've tracked our health, the temperature in the home. We've had blinkers that are supposed to reflect microradiation and radar. They're radar reflective material, and they've burned.
It's just really embarrassing and humiliating, and I hate being in this position, but I have to stick it out. Hopefully I'll be free soon. But thank you for listening. Bye.
Project Pandora. In 1953, the Russians began to bombard the U.S. Embassy in Moscow with electromagnetic radiation in the microwave spectrum, but the fact was kept secret from the embassy employees. U.S. Ambassador Stossel contracted a blood disease, bleeding eyes, nausea, and eventually lymphoma. He and other employees eventually died as a result of the microwave attacks. Dr. Henry Kissinger sent a secret memo giving hazard pay to embassy personnel in the 1970s. Scientists began zapping monkeys to study the biological effects of highly concentrated microwave frequencies. Jose Delgado experimented on 4 human subjects using radio waves, reporting they experienced different emotions, sensations, and colored visions. Delgado stated that these weapons were, quote, more dangerous than atomic destruction. With knowledge of the brain, he said, we may transform, we may shape, direct, roboticize man. I think the great danger of the future is that we will have roboticized human beings who are not aware that they have been roboticized, unquote. Dr. Delgado was in fact responsible for the development of a brain transponder that was used to roboticize human subjects. Women at different points around the camp appeared to experience similar symptoms at the same time, even though they were not in contact with one another. Large numbers of women complained of sudden feelings of extreme tiredness shortly before major events, such as the departure of a cruise missile convoy. Readings taken with a wide-range signal strength meter showed marked increases in the background signal level near one of the women's camps at the time they claimed to be experiencing ill effects, including vertigo, retinal bleeding, burnt face even at night, nausea, sleep disturbances, palpitations, loss of concentration, loss of memory, disorientation, severe headaches, temporary paralysis, faulty speech coordination, irritability, and a sense of panic. These effects have been reviewed by Dr. Robert Becker, twice nominated for the Nobel Prize and a specialist in electromagnetic effects. His report confirms that the symptoms mirror those he would expect to see had microwave weapons been deployed. The Department of Justice Electromagnetic Weapons Program. The Department of Defense uses the Department of Justice to develop and test non-lethal weapons as an aspect of deniability because many of these applications violate existing treaties. By using the Department of Justice and classifying these programs as crowd control, they are able to avoid scrutiny and can violate the spirit of the law without technically being in violation of international treaties. In 1993, the National Institute of Justice Initiative on Less Than Lethal Weapons recommended that state and local police departments in America utilize psychotronic, electromagnetic, and other mind control weapons against American citizens involved in, quote, domestic disturbances, an open-ended term that could include family arguments. The report said, quote, short-term research will be completed to adopt military technology to use by domestic law enforcement, including laser, microwave, and electromagnetic weapons, unquote. The Washington Post reported, quote, the Pentagon and the DOJ have agreed to share state-of-the-art military technology with civilian law enforcement agencies, including exotic non-lethal weapons, unquote. This new approach to law enforcement was showcased in a 3-day secret conference on non-lethal weaponry at the Applied Physics Laboratory at Johns Hopkins University in Maryland. The conference head was Colonel John B. Alexander, Program Manager for Non-Lethal Psychotronic Defense, Los Alamos National Laboratory. Attending the meeting was Attorney General Janet Reno, military weapons specialists, and representatives from state and local police departments.
I am a victim of electronic harassment. All right, my name is Catherine Moore. I am formerly of Wilmington, North Carolina. Today, I live in Miami, Florida with my daughter. I am a victim of electronic torture, surveillance, and wiretapping. I served as the mayor pro tem of that city for 14 years. During that time, I reported political corruption, police brutality, and the molestation of young children that went unpunished and unprosecuted. For these things, I became a targeted individual. I have been destroyed financially. I've lost my home. I lost my 30-year-old successful business. I was at one time a college professor. I cannot find a job anywhere. So I am completely and totally financially devastated. I am not alone. I am assaulted and tortured by law enforcement from the city level to the federal level. There are so many of us who are being tortured that our federal law enforcement agencies, who were charged with the duty and responsibility of protecting us from international terrorism, that protection is inadequate to the American citizenry because the money and the man-hours are being directed at domestic terrorism, at U.S. citizens. Anyone who dares to blow the whistle or who joins a peace march or has the audacity to tackle a major